Welcome to the FIREchat podcast, everybody. Today I have with me on my show Alfonso. And how do I say your last name, Alfonso?
Oh, man, I always get that because I have two last names.
Yeah.
So, like, if I say like everything, it's going to be a little bit challenging for everything. So, yeah, don't feel bad for it. It's Aramburo.
Aramburo.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the full thing?
Aramburo Zepeda.
Aramburo Zepeda.
Yeah.
Was that good? Was that
close?
Man,
yeah, you got it right.
Alfonso, I already forgot it.
Yeah, I know, man. It's every time.
So,
but you know what? A funny thing is that, of course, like my last name is Hispanic, right? Mm-hmm. And it's funny that people, even though it's hard in English, mm-hmm. it's way like people pronounce it even better than even people in either like Latin America or whoever, mm-hmm. like Spanish speakers. And reason being is because it's like it's not easy to pronounce it, not even in my my native language, right, which is Spanish.
Yeah, and what is it? Spain, like actual Spain, or is it a different part? What?
Oh, I'm from Mexico, Tecate, right across the border, right?
Okay.
Like probably say 30 minutes.
Sure the origins of the family name, like if it was like
Spanish
royalty, or
exactly. Well, not me.
Don't cut yourself short, man. I think you got it. Like a lost prince, or
I think maybe he's like the beard prince or something.
Right on. Well, it's good to have you on the show. Again, this is the FIREchat podcast where we focus on financial independence through real estate here at the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, and we usually talk about different things. We touch on different ideas and different get an idea of what people's path has been like. So, Alfonso, how long have you been in real estate now?
Oh man, my story in real estate is kind of, I've had my ups and downs in real estate, so to speak, right? I started with a fix and flip actually from my dad. He had a property that they just abandoned for like about 20 years. And that was my first exposure to real estate, right? I needed a place to live. And he said, oh, well, we have that dilapidated house right there, like literally had no roof, right? Mm-hmm. Like it was like really bad. And so I got with a handyman. I didn't get a GC or anything. Mm-hmm. That was actually in Mexico. That wasn't even here. Yeah. So
what part of Mexico?
Tijuana, TJ.
Tijuana. All right.
Yeah. And so after that, I fixed it up. I lived there for, I think about a couple of years. And then after that, I decided to, sell it and purchase another house, right? From there on, I moved on to the States. Mm-hmm. And, for one reason or another, multiple things, I really, it wasn't until literally 3 months ago that I decided to get into real estate, which is like pretty short.
So how long was that before, like when you did the flip in Mexico?
Yeah, so I did, of course, like I bought land after I did that. So I did acquire 2 properties, right, there before I moved here. And, when my kid was pretty little, he was about like 3 months old, right? We moved to the States. And he actually turned in 7 in 3 days.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he was born
San Diego.
San Diego? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then where were you born?
In TJ.
Okay. So when you moved here, you grew up in TJ also?
Yeah, I grew up and was raised and born in TJ, right?
Awesome.
And Tecate. Right.
Awesome. So how's that's really cool. That's really cool. So what made you did you have family here already, or?
Yeah, well, yes and no, right? So I got married about 8 years ago, right? And at that point I was working in TJ I was a plant manager for a manufacturing company.
Wow.
And I've been a manager in manufacturing for almost 2 decades, right? Like handling projects, systems and processes, like completely unrelated to real estate. Right. And so what I really, back then is what she was used to the American life, right? She was used to like going at the parks, like kind of like, and in Mexico, it's so different, right? I mean, food is delicious, right? I mean, that's one of the perks, to be honest with you. It's like the variety that you have is just, it's beautiful. I just came back from there visiting family. And man, if you see my belly a little bit, bigger, maybe it's because Alice is there, right?
I don't blame it.
But yeah, no, really, that's what let me, I got an opportunity here. So again as a plant manager for another manufacturing company. And I pretty much just, made the decision to, by doing that, I would also please the wife, then wife, right?
Okay. Okay. So at the then wife was, she was American?
Yes,
Okay.
she is also raised and born in San Diego.
Okay. How did you guys did meet across the border or
It's funny that she was she went to State University of San Diego, and she met my cousin's cousin.
Okay.
Right, and that's kind of of course, I saw her on Facebook, and I was like, she's nice, right? And I went for the kill, brother.
There you go. There you go. Cool. Cool. So, man, what a difference. How long ago were you running being a plant manager?
I've been a plant manager for
In Mexico specifically. Sorry. So.
right there. Barely, probably a couple of years, right?
Really?
3 years or something. Before that, I was a manager, but other type of managers, just managing continuous improvement projects, more related to how can we make something faster, quicker, more efficient. That kind of manager, right? More of systems and processes.
Awesome. So, okay, we're going to come back to that because I want to know first how you got into real estate, and then I kind of want to talk about a little bit of where those skills kind of transfer over. So 3 months ago, you decided to get into real estate. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. 3 months ago. So what changed 3 months ago that made you decide to do this crazy thing?
Oh man, and this is I've always wanted to jump into real estate, right? I hadn't pulled trigger for reasons beyond. I had the money, right? I had the classic 6-figure salary, which nowadays is not a lot, right? Being
Depends where the 6 figures start with.
Yeah, exactly. And I never pulled trigger, had enough money to purchase a commercial building here in Riverside. I didn't pull the trigger for whatever reason, and so it got to the point where I said, I was the director of supply chain operations for a company. I was making good money, but then I didn't feel any fulfillment, right? I felt like I was just working, right?
There's
just
a supply
existing.
chain joke in there somewhere. There's a supply chain joke in there somewhere about fulfillment, but I don't know what it was. I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, you got it right, man. No pun intended, right? And so, I was, just looking for what is the missing link? What am I losing, right? What am I missing? Because I had purpose, right? I obviously know that I like to help people, right?
Yeah.
I have definitely, people skills, right? I've been, as a manager, I've always been wanted to help, my colleagues, my employees. It's all, to me, it's always about how can I make a difference?
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And so then I just, I wasn't getting it, right? So the company was going through some financial, hardships. And my boss comes to me and tells me, Alfonso, we're moving our supply chain, because I was managing all of our supply chain from Mexico, the States, and Canada, right? And he said, you will just watch, because we're moving all of our supply chain to China, right?
Oh, wow.
And so at that point is he wasn't telling me you're not going to have a job, but he was in a way implying.
As much as he could, but trying to keep you still working.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so back then I thought that was 2022. April, by the way, and that's when the last time he came to me and said, we just gonna, call it a day, right? And
that was January 20 last year?
That's April last year.
Okay.
And we parted ways. And so at that point I said, I don't feel like going back to the workforce, right? I have obviously some skills that I can translate into something. I don't know what it is. So I have the relationships and manufacturing brokerage, and I started doing that, right? I started going to companies asking, what do you need? And how can I get to you? Because I have that you need, right?
Yeah.
Which was pretty much the sourcing aspect, right? People that needed parts from, Asia, Mexico, whatever, right? For plastic and metal parts. So that's what I did for about a year. I was doing, at some point, like the ups and downs. I was quoting millions of dollars, right? I was like, geez, man, I made it already. I was super happy, right? With like at least the pipeline that I was getting in quotes. Well, but not all of those convert, right? And so I was making enough to where I was surviving, but still not enough to where it never took off,
Yeah,
right?
thriving. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, at that point, I was like, I felt like a little bit of a burnout because I had like years back, and I'm talking about probably 10 years ago, I started a similar company that then I just left it to my partner then, right? And so I was like, now is the time, right? But then as I was going through, everything felt, again, so transactional, right? I felt like still something was missing, right?
Yeah.
Like do I want to keep doing this, or what I really want to do, right? So one day I just remember just I was talking to my mom. That's funny, right? That I just, I have a pretty good relationship with her too. I just tell like my feelings and everything, right?
Yeah, of course. I got a relationship with my mom too. So.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
That's good. That's nice.
Yeah. And I was telling her that I feel like I can make it in this business. I have the relationships and I can keep doing that, but I don't feel like, it feels contrary to popular beliefs. Like you go to school and you are taught to like, oh, do this because you want to get a better job or a higher paying job. And that's like the classic thing that you hear,
Go
right?
get more training or another certificate or
Exactly. And man, I can't
go get Six Sigma or whatever.
And I have all of that, bro.
Yeah.
Like I have everything. I have like the whatever green black belt. I've even given courses. In fact, I was complementing that and was being a consultant for some manufacturing business from the area. And they were calling me just to go there and teach them for their training courses and certificates and whatever, right? So the expertise is there. I was making decent money, right? To where at least, like I said, I was surviving, right? So, like self-sufficient, but just that, right? Nothing else. So I was telling her that I feel like I've spent so much time in my life pursuing something that that I'm just doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Right. And it didn't feel right. Like I'm an engineer, right? I'm a mechatronics engineer. I know how to program. I don't know how to put together circuits. I don't know how to do a design. I don't know how to develop a product. Like there are so many companies that require and that need, it's like a high demand job. Like what I have the skills. I can make good money. I've gotten offers. I've turned down offers. And yet I feel like, why am I sabotaging myself? Right?
Yeah.
Why am I going to interviews when I'm saying like they're offering me the job, and it happened to me twice? I turned them down. And I said, I need to like dig deeper, right? I really need to understand what I'm missing. And it's funny that day I go to YouTube and I was like, I want to buy a house.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
The same day you were talking to your mom?
Same day.
Yeah.
Same day.
All
and
right.
I feel like I need to start thinking as an investor, right?
So up until that point, you hadn't bought your own house?
No.
Okay.
No, not here.
Okay.
Right. I made offers. I had offers approved. But like I said, for those personal things, that it never happened.
Yeah.
Right?
I understand that. I mean, once upon a time, like I was going to buy a house in Phoenix and I was ready. I thought that was just the next step, because like you, I was, working a corporate job and it just was like, okay, I'm making good money. It's time to buy a house. And then, for whatever reason, which is now evident now, that I didn't buy a house back then because I would have probably never been on this path, if I would have done that and just had that overhead of, of just having a house just to have a house, kind of thing. So, so what do you think that, I definitely feel you on that whole thing, and especially talking to your mom too.
Yeah, no, man. I kind of like saw glass. Like I know you resonated with me, man.
Yeah. So, what do you think was missing? Like, have you kind of figured it out yet? Or
Absolutely.
Okay. Tell us. We want to hear it.
Oh yeah. So then it's like there's got to be a better way, right? There's got to be a way where I can combine everything, like my knowledge. I'm big in SEO, right? Like my previous business, I built it on like all the leads that I get still till today are through my website, right? like people looking me up, and you're gonna find me on like page number 1. And I'm like, I gotta be able to transfer like all these skills into something that, you know, it really gives me like true purpose, right? And so I was watching like these videos like about, and again, I've been like on some like pretty big real estate blogs and podcasts. Like I've heard of them for like years. And then I said, there's got to be something better. I don't feel like, I don't know, purchasing a house, going on market and just paying like, you know, at that time, of course, the interest rates were amazing. Right? Like 3.5 or 2.5 or whatever, right? But I was like, I don't know. It doesn't feel, there's got to be something different, something better, right? And I remember that I heard wholesaling like years back. But since I was making good money, I was like, that sounds like too much work, right?
Yeah.
And it is.
It's a ton of work, yeah.
Yeah. And so I came across, you know, a few people like free, like, you know, well-known real estate gurus, right? Where I'm going to tell it that they helped me to get pumped at least, right?
Yeah.
Right?
They do. That's why we go to the, you know, dirty secret. Me and Evan and I still go to like these guru events every once in a while, because we like the rah rah, you know, like you know, they get you pumped to spend 50 grand on their course, but like you don't have to.
Yeah. Oh man, no, all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, this guy's an amazing
lights
speaker.
Going, and you know, they come out and they're like, you can do it, you know.
It's like, oh, you can buy a house like today, like just pick up the phone and the first person will pick up. We'll be like
waiting for you to call.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. They're not wrong. It's just, you know, it's not that
they
easy.
make it sound super easy, right?
Yeah.
And I was just on the phone with another, you know, colleague of mine, and we're saying, man, I wish that they had told us like really how it is, right? Because they give you just enough information to get motivated. I think that's good, right? Because it gets you started. That's what got me started. But it's also like, it's been tough, right? Because I, like these 3 months, I've been going full time, like full time, all day. 14-hour days, right? Like really getting at it, trying to understand it. I mean, asking you guys around. I mean, you've been giving me great advice, right? I mean, amazing people that we have here, you know, local RIA, right? Where like people like Evan, Andy, I mean, everyone have been super helpful. And whenever I've had a question, I've come across a seller that in a specific situation, and I'm like, okay, I need to do that, right? Or I need to give them a call and try this different that they told me, right? And so to me is just the ongoing, right? Is like, what is the next thing? What do I need to do next that will pay dividends, right?
Yeah.
What is the next action?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's, you know, what I immediately noticed about you when you started coming around a couple months ago was you take action. Like it's even though you're looking for that next step, like a lot of people struggle with just that, like actually just taking the action and moving forward. Even if, you know, it's like, it's almost like people find a reason not to, and they want to try and figure it all out like immediately before they take that first step. And you seem to be like, nope, I'm just going to I'm going to go for it. And that's really good. So I think that's, you know, you've seen a little bit of success so far, at least getting some things going. But I feel like I'm going to hold you to it a little bit. I don't know if I quite got an answer on the what was missing. What did you think was missing, or have you been able to, you know, because sometimes it doesn't become evident until down the road. So
absolutely. So if I could, you know, use the analogy of when you have, let's say, you're in a race, right? And then you know that you're a good runner, right? But then you have the wrong shoes, and those shoes are probably causing you your knees to hurt, right?
True.
And then you know that you can win that race, but then to what extent, right? So what is like? Do you really want to get there? Like, do you really want to get and suffer that? Right? That's where it was. Is going the manufacturing route. It's amazing. I still want to do it, right, at some point. But it's a business that it requires also. It's a different animal, right? Not to say that it's easy or it's harder. I'm not comparing it. It's not apples to apples. It's just a different thing, right? In real estate, what I'm seeing is that it is just the camaraderie that there is, either the people, the colleagues, the friends or relationships that you can build, it's something that I was missing, right?
Okay.
So the thing that I was, in manufacturing, I can't tell you the times when buyers of companies, sourcing managers told me, guaranteed me, made me invest in projects. And I can tell you how many times me and my partners, because, in real estate, you JV, right? It's super common. In real estate, it's as simple as, oh yeah, everyone understands the language. Whenever you say JV, you don't even have to say, oh, we're going to joint venture, right? In manufacturing, there is really not such thing. You're for your own, right? Like it's
You gotta do your part, and then they'll do their part. And
like people, and a lot of people will try to get advantage. This is the real world, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like real estate, or here at least, like we're in a bubble, right? I feel like we are, and
hopefully
again,
not.
yeah, it's
Not a market bubble.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
It's in a good bubble.
Yeah, it's
right?
actually it's a community. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a beautiful
and it's
community.
actually not that big. Of that many people that are, really doing it. So, and you did say fulfillment earlier, that you didn't have fulfillment. So like what? I mean, it sounds like, fulfillment is, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that there's, the camaraderie and the more of just, less cutthroat competition and more like friendly lifting each other. Like working
I
together,
love that. Yes,
know?
Absolutely. I mean, I do till today. I mean, I still have that manufacturing business, right? I mean, where I source stuff for companies. I still do it, and the relationships that I kept and the companies that I'm working with are the people that understand, and it is the minority, right? It's people that understand the meaning of teamwork, right? I can get to the plant, I can get to the manufacturing company, huge machines. I'm just like, like their team member, their teammate. And it's great. Like we JV on the deals with our customers, right? And that's what, it's great. It's amazing. But again, it's, if I compare it like with real estate, with what we're doing here, it is just a different environment. And I guess, one of the missing links, I was also looking for community, right? Yeah. I was looking for like the emotional side of the business, right? Not necessarily, good. I mean, money is amazing. It's great. But also when I'm on the phone with a seller, because as you already know, and thanks to you, I'm making like 800 to 1,000 calls a day, right? Only because you introduced me to a power dialer. Back then I was just making, maybe probably a quarter of that, right?
Yeah, it's tedious dialing every one of those numbers.
It is. And so now when I'm on the phone with a seller and that it's telling me I'm going to lose my house, just today, I got a call from a seller that I door knocked in Coachella. And I said, hey, if you ever, they said, just like every seller in pre-foreclosure, I got it handled, right? And I said, okay, well, I respect that. Awesome. Sounds like you're working in a loan mod or whatever. So you have the money to pay for the, to pay the arrears and everything. So just call me. If there is any question that you have, just reach out. Or if you're having trouble with whatever, just reach out to me. And they did. And they were asking me, nice. Oh, the foreclosure is happening today at 9. I look at my phone. Well, actually, my watch. And then I see that it's 10 a.m. Right. And I'm like, okay, okay. Right. But at least I was able to give them peace of mind. Yeah. Right. After they were already working with a lawyer, they did the right thing. It's just that it took a little while for them to get that confidence, that trust, right? They're working with a lawyer. They're not trusting the lawyer. They're kind of like getting a second opinion, right? Or a third opinion, or I don't know, however many opinions. But it's just like knowing that you can help people getting out of like horrible situations, give people a peace of mind when they're around like buying.
Solve problems. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. Like putting a house under contract that that the seller is going through a horrible situation and that you are the one that can help them. You have the resources. I love that. I love being the helper.
Yeah.
I love being the solution guy. That's the part that I was missing.
Yeah, and I think and then obviously your background in processes, is, and I think you probably realize too that you don't have to solve their problem and you kind of alluded to it. You don't have to solve their problem in like one phone call. Like, and a lot of people will start like, oh, well, they want to jump like right to the offer within like, 35 seconds of of talking to somebody. And they're like, oh, well, how much do you want? How much do you want? Like, and they'll try and close it. And like you said, like, it took a little bit of time to build that rapport and really get them comfortable with you to the point that they trusted you. And that's big. I mean, there are those people that, they'll just be like, yeah, just you give me $1 million and you can have it,
all the time, every day.
And to those people, you just say, yeah, I'll pay you, $1 every day for 1,000,000 days.
you know what? Because I get at least like every day. And keep in mind, I mean, I make a lot of calls a day, but at least I get 4 people like that offer me $2 million. And then I said, okay, I get what I say is I'll give you 3. How about that? Right? If I send you the contract now, would you accept that? I was like, yeah, send it my way. I was like, haha, or they just laugh, right? I just call it that. Because also, man, these people, some of these, they'll just flag your number sometimes, right? If they don't like what you're saying, right? So I already got like a couple numbers, man, flagged. So I kind of like learned the lesson.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, some people it depends what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I'll just say, yeah, okay, have a good day. And then other ones I'll do that. And, but it comes with the territory of dialing. You mentioned the power dialer, and that makes a difference. That's absolutely. Tell everybody for those listening out there that don't know what a power dialer is. What is it?
Power dialer is pretty much just the upgrade, right? It's just like hand dialing on your phone instead of typing. You're having that on steroids, right? Because it's automatically dialing, depending on how you set it up. You can set it up in like probably like every 10 seconds, you're calling a new number, which what I do, I tried 15 seconds. I've found, to me, and this is just dropping some golden nuggets, it's 30 seconds seems to be the best because most people have their voicemail typically doesn't go longer than that. So I do a drop voicemail, right, after like 30 seconds. And then oftentimes like have people calling me back and they will be like, hey, Alfonso, you dropped me a message. And it's like, oh, yeah, that was the automated, I guess. But yeah, that's a power dialer. It's just an automation. And also most power dialers have a CRM already integrated. So it's like super easy to keep track of your leads and of your like the people that you talk to. You keep your notes. It's an amazing tool. I wish, actually it's a good thing that it's not as, like not every guru recommends a power dialer. Right. Yeah. Most people will say, just get your phone and you'll get amazing deals just by calling people just with your phone. You can. Right. Which you can.
It definitely speeds up the process. It's funny. Like, you mentioned like, the power dialer changed your, I was a recruiter for, I don't even remember anymore. 5 years, 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that. And, they never let us use a dialer. And I'm pretty sure they existed back then, but we used to, go through a database of tens of thousands of contractors that were, software engineers and stuff like that, and we would hand dial the phone all day and just go through this database. And I think back on that, going, wow, if I could have dialed, 3 numbers at a time and just clicked a button and it just kept rotating people until I got somebody on the phone. Man, I might not be a real estate investor right now.
You could have 5X. Yeah.
I would have just, crazy. And the company I worked for, like they're great on the staffing side and like recruiting and all the processes and all that. But on the tech side, they were not friendly to anything other than just dial till your fingers bleed. And for the most part, they weren't wrong. It was just some of the tech could have really. I'm hoping that they have adopted some of that tech to nowadays. But for like power dialing on the on this, it makes a huge difference. I mean, how fast do you think you can get through 5,000 leads?
What I'm doing now for an average, it depends on how many numbers you have, right? How many numbers you're dialing. Because when you're skip tracing, you can get up to, with this one skip tracer that I do, he also gives you the numbers from relatives, right? Like from all the kinds of like from the uncles, like all kinds of like 10 people, right? to me, what I do and what I've found is I have the better results from the first three numbers, right? So the first three numbers are going to be the best ones, the best results. Whether I don't, and this is me, right? Depending on the list that I'm hitting, I will maybe do landlines and maybe cell phones and whatever. And to answer your question is you can do about, and depending on, again, on the rate that you have and how you have it set up. But I've found that from hand dialing to power dialing, I 5x my output, right? Sure. And so I was doing an average of 250 hand dialing, and now I'm able to do in about a probably 10-hour day, about 1,000 calls.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's big.
So you're doing about 100 calls per hour, somewhere around there, right?
Yeah, and then I think it also like if it's a hang up or a dead number or a fax number or whatever, it'll like automatically just kind of put that one to the side for the next time. And obviously, you're going to go through these lists, multiple times. You're not just going to dial it once and then let it go. But yeah, they're pretty cool. So, all right, let's jump back into. We don't have to sell dialers to everybody forever. I think they get it. So, let's jump back to. Let's jump back to we talked about real estate. So is financial independence like a goal for you, or are you just focused on the real estate part? Like because you said, you, and the reason I'm asking it that way is as you did mention that, financially, like you were doing pretty well. And that, you had a solid career and, and all that. So, what's the drive other than fulfillment? Is financial independence part of that, or?
Absolutely, yeah. The FIRE movement, I think it's fire, no pun intended, right? Yeah. Or pun intended, in fact. I have a 70-year-old kid, right? He is my motivation. He's my main motivation. When I look at him, and I'm like, I gotta give him the best of me, right?
Yeah.
It's just seeing him growing, right? And like I'm raising a human being, and I want to see an example, right? I want to see someone that I want for him to see a dad that is doing everything he can to explode his full potential, right? I would love to give him, and again, a better education, better opportunities. I was very blessed, or I am very blessed, thank God, that my family is still, we're very close, right? Like my parents were amazing when I was little. They always focus on studies. You do well, do good to people. Always try to raise me with principles or values, right? Good. Yeah. And so I feel like my standard's pretty high, and this is where you get the whole insecurities, right? Is if I got so much from my parents, I haven't even given my kid half of what I got, right? Half of what I received. So I feel like I still,
still time. He's only 7.
Yes, no, absolutely. Yeah. But it is I'm pushing myself so hard, right, to make this work, to be financially independent, because I understand the power of time, right?
Yeah.
Time is the most precious thing that we have. And I've already gave my, a lot of my hours and a lot of my life, even though I'm not that old, but still, I give a lot to these companies that, one day they would come to you and they will tell you,
yep,
bye-bye, right? Because you're too expensive. Because yes, you're generating, but we can replace you with someone else.
Yeah, or you didn't hit your numbers. It doesn't matter what you did last week or last quarter or last whatever. Now it's what did you do for me recently?
Yeah.
It's just a never-ending growth game, right? That's just, it gets old.
It gets old because it's not about there was in one particular case, again, continuous improvement guy, right? So I get to the company. This is where I learned kind of, I get it why some people just don't push so hard when they're working in companies, because no matter how much you do, you will always get asked to double that, right? Or to improve way, way more than that, which is not wrong. It's part of the business, right? But it's okay, I'm doing all that for other people. I owe that to myself, right? I feel that I can contribute better. I could impact other people better if I were to do it, if I was the leader of that company. And so that's what I'm working towards. I'm working towards building a company, a sustainable business surrounded by values, right? Where we are actually helping people around us, right? Where we're actually trying, like looking at the best interest of, call it a seller, whether partners, whether JV partners, whether suppliers, right?
Yeah.
Whoever is around us, right? And so to me, to make an impact in our community, it's so important, right? And I feel like being at a company, working for someone else that is not aligned with my values, when I'm like, this person deserves that we double the salary because he's producing way more, like 5x, like thanks to these guy or these 5 people, we're where we're at, right? And they're just like, no, pay them as least as you can, right?
Yeah.
Just to keep them there. No, I don't think that way. I feel like if you're producing, right? If you are doing something that I ask you to do, and you're aligned with everything and you did what you had to do, right? Like what you were supposed to do, yes, because it's your job, but also, you're going above and beyond. Why am I not going to reward you, right?
Yeah.
And that is my mindset. Yeah. That is how I think. And that is what I want, what I'm actually doing now with the people that I'm working with, right?
Right on. So you want to build, it's not just, sounds like you don't want to just do your own, you want to build a team like around you to
absolutely
to really like go at it. So what does that team look like? I mean, you need like 3 people mashing the phones and one guy out knocking door. Like what does the team look like?
Well, for a question, right now I'm getting in mind 3 months down the road. Just I've already sent out a few contracts. Just FYI, I'm kind of like clapping to myself and pretty excited because I got, besides the contracts, I have a few that will get signed. They will get back to me. Some of those creative, some of those cash. And one of them, I got it back yesterday from the seller. Awesome. I got pictures and everything. Yeah, no, it's amazing. You
got the contract back signed?
I already got the contract back signed, right?
Nice, dude.
So it feels great because a lot of contracts have fell through. Right. And a lot of things that I've tried to do, maybe with the wrong people, maybe with, but little by little, you start, finding your way. Right. And again, with help from others. Right. Like being here every week, right. Talking to you guys, listening to what everyone says, everyone's experience. I am more than grateful. Right. And so my team is exactly having that. Right. Like to where we can make an impact. Right. So it would be someone, I'm on the phone now. I'm pretty good at converting people. Well, I call it converting, meaning like someone who at first,
term.
Yeah, exactly. Someone at first is maybe not interested. Like, no, I don't know. You will want to lowball me. Right. And then I said, okay, what does lowball mean to you? Right. I start asking questions. Right. I try to get to know the person to the point where I have one guy who's like, I want to come down there. He's a guy. He's like, I got my business and everything. I got not much going on. I want to come down to Riverside and I want us to have to have lunch or dinner or something. And then I will sell you my properties that I have there. I was like, okay, that sounds, not that common, but I'm all for the free dinner, right?
Yeah.
And so that to me is when I hear from one guy that, there is another guy that actually, we just revised a contract, but I got like 2 contracts signed. The other one, he said, there was another guy that offered me more, but I kind of like you better. Like, I feel comfortable with you. I know
that's big.
That's
big.
So one part of me doesn't want to, stay away from the phone, but I know that I will have to, like, if I want to, do this, I will have to hire one. I just need one cold caller, right? And I want to pay him well, right? I want someone that is skilled, right? That it can replace me, that is personable, that really cares, that wants to have a conversation with people, want to change it up, right? And then I would have a acquisitions manager, right? Someone who would get the properties under contract, do the follow-ups. Whether I need a junior acquisitions manager or not, I don't know. Right? Maybe, depending on the volume, but I'm just thinking like within probably, I don't know, say maybe a year or so. And maybe, again, this is me pushing me hard,
Yeah.
right? But that's what I'm striving towards, right? It's an acquisitions manager and a dispo manager, right? Someone that
So you want to
helps
build
me.
like a whole wholesaling
Yes, sir.
team.
Yes,
Team.
sir.
All right. So I'm gonna challenge you a little bit. What so more money, more problems, right?
Yes, sir.
More people, more more mouths to feed, right? So like, if you sat down and said, I want to, whatever the number is, let's just say it's $100,000 a year. Okay, I want to make $100,000 a year. Just roll with me for a second. If you wanted to make $100,000 a year, and you could do that in 2, 3, maybe 4 deals. Okay, that's 4 deals, $25,000 wholesale fee per deal, and then you're good. Versus, just doing it on your own. Versus, let's say you could make, a little bit more, call it 150. But you also now have to make 300,000 in wholesale fees for the company. The company has to make 300,000 in wholesale fees so that you can pay all these people you want to hire. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm saying there are people that have built massive wholesaling companies, especially right here in our backyard, and they've done very, very well. But have you sat down and looked at like what your I call it your fire number. Well, I don't call it your fire. It's like a thing that's out there. Your number, your fire number, and you can do it one of two. You could do like your if you want to just save up a nest egg kind of thing, or if you want to just a monthly cash flow number or whatever. Have you sat down and really thought about like what you want? Like,
Yes, absolutely. I'm pretty frugal. I'm not. Yes, I don't spend much in all kinds of stuff. Right. I mean, to me, time is the most precious and valuable thing. I can go outdoors. I love camping. I love vacations. I mean, we're going to Puerto Vallarta in like 2 days from now. Not actually tomorrow. Yeah. So, but it's again, I do have my number. It's about 150K, right? If a year,
Okay.
yeah. If I have that, I can use some money towards investments, right? I mean, ultimately, what I want to do is my wholesaling business is something that I can pour or pretty much will feed or will be the fuel for passive investments, right?
Okay.
So it is a start, right? It is something where I know that after this, there's something else, right? There's always going to be something else, right? That doesn't mean that 150K will be just forever, right? But this is this is my number for me to be okay, for me to be able to invest it in some stuff, right? Like, whatever, right? And let's say a deal comes up and it's like, it's such a good deal that just fits my portfolio. And then why not acquire that, keep it to myself and maybe making a couple $100 in cash flow, which is not a lot, but it's like, but I wanted a house there. I wanted a condo there, right? Or I wanted an Airbnb in the Smoky Mountains or maybe here in Lake Tahoe or, somewhere along those lines. I would love eventually to have my, vacation home where it's rented. And then whenever I want, it's like, guess what? I'm just going to go there and take it I will block it out for the day or for the week. And I won't have to, the people will pay for it pretty much for my vacation. That's what I want to get to. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. And I'm not trying to discourage or just, I'm just curious because I did a similar thing where I was, I thought about it from, if I could just make X on my salary, then I could do the more kind of traditional, safer way of just buying it with bank financing or whatever. And that probably, to be honest with you, that probably set me back a couple of years. Not that it was a bad thing. I mean, it's been great. I've done well with it, but with that plan. But there's also, if I could have held or done a little bit more creatively to hold things sooner instead of just relying on the wholesale fee to like kind of, I would probably be even further ahead. So I would just encourage you to, think about that, like, and really like decide, and maybe you already have. I just, we're just talking
I
here.
appreciate,
So,
I appreciate the nuggets.
because it's you can build a beast very fast that has to be fed. So that house that you mentioned, maybe that one comes along that you're like, oh, this is in my buy box and I want to hang on to this one. But now you got 5 employees that you need to make payroll for, and that great deal that you could now make an $80,000 wholesale fee on. You almost have to do it because you got to pay everybody else.
Yes.
Instead of just keeping it.
So was that dilemma? It's either money. It's either for the short term or for the long term.
Yeah,
right.
And it gets tough on how to balance that. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly where I'm at this point. I have enough funds, so I got the news from I did an on market sub 2 that I got a text message yesterday from the realtor at 9:40 p.m. That the seller already agreed that he's putting the contract together just for us to move forward with it, and already, of course, I had to convince the broker and like the whole 9 yard, it's a VA loan, right? And so I was thinking, do I want to wholesale this one or do I want to keep it, right? I was thinking, so I have the money in the bank, right, to purchase it and keep it. Maybe I could do an equity partner. Maybe, start thinking. And I think to your point is you got to start thinking creatively, not only for the wholesaling aspect, but just for your own, for yourself too, right? So how can we make it happen so that, you are moving forward without having those step backs, which I've had them in the past, right? And I guess that's where part of the drive is, you've been, you already screwed up enough times, right? You already wasted enough money, enough lives, right? Enough years to where now is, okay, what is the next smartest move? So whenever I hear from someone like you, right, obviously you are more experienced than I am in certain aspects, and I respect that, right? Whenever someone tells me, I take that advice from people that have been there, and I don't take it lightly, right? I think that's what have helped me so far to make smart decisions and take action, and I appreciate the advice.
Yeah, no problem. And like anything, just you got to decide for yourself. Obviously, it's but if years ago somebody would have looked at what I was doing and said, maybe I would have listened to him. Maybe I wouldn't have. I've been coming around for the last couple of years. Andy used to just grab everybody that was new that wanted to wholesale and just grab them by the back of the neck and be like, why would you want to sell such a nice house as that? Kind of like, what are you doing? And we used to, we still do, because I think it's an important part of the whole thing. Like all this real estate stuff is wholesaling is a very important thing to learn. It teaches you a lot. And it can change your life quickly, very quickly. And getting some of those wholesale fees can really turn, something that, you could invest it, take something long term, and it takes a long time to get the capital back and all of that, and just go get something else, and really just ramp up quickly. So there's definitely multiple strategies. That's the cool thing about all this, is that you don't have to just do what other people did. You can really do whatever you really want to do, as far as whatever path you want to take. You want to take Airbnbs, wholesaling, anything. You can do it. And there's plenty of people in this club that are doing it, and they all have their own idea and their own opinions, and and it's on, I guess, newer people to just hear them out and decide what makes sense for them. So tell us about the deals, man. What was your first one? Is this I know it's not your first one, but
it's funny. Yeah. Well, the one, again, a bunch of deals have fell through.
Okay.
Right?
Let's pause then. What made what made it fall through? And then was there a way that it could have been saved that if you would have known about first, or is it just like, you didn't do it right? It wasn't right from the beginning.
The first deal that I thought actually Evan helped me with, like pulling title on that one. I was already with the seller. It was a pre-foreclosure.
Okay.
Like literally 3 blocks from my house. Beautiful house. I was like, I already got my house, right? I already got like, thank you, universe, right? I was super happy, super stoked. I had the seller tell me, I'm going to have to sell you the house. I have no other option, right? I mean, I'm going to be kicked out, and at least you will give me some time for me to figure things out. I'm going to walk away with some money. It just makes sense for me.
And they were in pre-foreclosure?
Pre-foreclosure.
Okay. They got in the NOD or notice of sale, or?
Notice of sale. Notice of default, notice of sale. The auction was coming in like the following week.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it was real.
It was happening.
Okay.
It was happening. Yeah. I had been nurturing that relationship for about 2 months, right? The first list that I was hitting was pre-foreclosure. So I was just door knocking all over the Inland Empire, just driving like crazy, going from one to the other. Is like, this is not working. Then, you can just start fine tuning, right? Until I got to the seller, and I was like, I just found, I'm just going to look in my, in my area, like closer to home. So I stumbled upon this guy. We were already in his house, in his living room, for like hours and hours, right? I mean, I'm talking just face to face with the guy, helping him with putting everything together, calling the trustee, calling the lender, is trying to figure things out, getting the net sheet, the reinstatement, all that stuff, which, by the way, again, like part of that stuff, I had no clue how to go about that, right?
There's a lot there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like just on the phone with like, okay, who can help me, right? I mean, I really want to, I want this house for myself, but if I have to, give that away or like let that go so that at least this seller, I was willing to do that, right? Just for the record, right? Yeah. So that at least, he's able to not go into foreclosure, because once that happens is 7-10 years of bad credit and whatnot, right? So I was trying to truly help or avoid that, and what happened is I already had the contract drafted. He said that he wanted to move forward with it. I went in the morning one day prior to the auction date, right? Because he had been pushing it, right? Until I said, you got no more time. So that day, he looked at the paperwork and he said, I have to think about it. And I said, you have to think about it.
Think about what? Like, you're going to lose your house. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you already thought about it enough, right? What's there to think about it? And then he looks at me and says, I thought you were going to help me. Right?
He wanted to keep his house.
He wanted to keep his house now. And I said, okay, well, I'm here to help you. Am I not? Is not what we agreed on? Didn't I help you with giving you about at least 10 options that you could do? I even asked you for your son to buy it from you even before I offered. And I gave you, do you have any friends? Can you pull any money out of somewhere, right? To catch up the arrears. Oh no. So the guy was waiting for a miracle, right? Which they exist. And some people were telling me like, you are the miracle. It's just that he's not seeing it, right? Because the terms that I was having with him were like pretty good, right? He was gonna walk away with some money in his pocket, right? I was gonna help him out with like the move out and everything, moving expenses, like the whole 9 yards. I was going like above and beyond just to really help this guy. What
was his other option? Like, he was gonna lose the house, get nothing, and
get zero,
get thrown out by the bank.
Exactly. Okay. And so at that point, he said, no, I have to think about it. And there was nothing that I could do at that point. I tried to do everything, like try to, talking through what was going to happen later, and that he had to make a decision. That not making a decision, it's making a decision, right? And what's going to happen is he'll get zero. Well, guess what happened, right?
I'm assuming it sold.
Well, the guy is not. He's making the decision, right, of not selling the house, of just losing the house, right? And that's unfortunately. That happened. I was really bummed.
Did it go to auction?
It went to auction. Yes.
It did? Yeah,
yes.
It sold? I'm assuming.
I haven't checked.
Okay.
Maybe there is chance to, I don't know. Just at that point, it was just horrible for me to because I had that similar situation happening with another guy who also wanted to save the house, and so you ask like, what could you have done better, right? Or what do you think that was missing? Well, maybe, there is obviously a lot of things that I haven't learned yet. There's obviously a lot of things that I still need to improve on. And to be honest with you, I think it might be the lack of experience, right?
Okay.
With these sellers. It might be just not pushing them hard enough to where it's like, sign it, right? Like,
Well, you can't. I mean, they have to sign. They have to sign willingly.
Yeah. But I mean, like a way where you can actually, persuade them in a better way, like sign it, right? Like this is your best option, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I'm gonna call it. It could be maybe the seller, but I always want to take ownership, right, of the things that I do. So I'm gonna say maybe I'm gonna go back to pre-foreclosures and auctions, try it again, and to me it was just a learning experience, or it's been a learning experience. There is maybe probably next time I will try the T-bar, right? That's something I didn't try, right?
Yeah, and I would, if I may, it's not always you. Sometimes, there are sellers out there that just have the wool over their eyes and just don't want to hear it. And until the bank's there throwing them out, they're like, they don't believe it's going to happen. And, so you can't help everybody, but, I would definitely stay on it. I would, see if it went to auction. It might not have sold, because the bank might, he might owe too much depending on what it was. But, it sounds like, this just happened to me too, where we working on this deal for months, and was making a seller carry option. And I mean, we went 4.5-hour marathon with the sellers at their a retirement home, and I thought we were covered. I thought we were there, kind of deal. And that the last minute they wanted to bring in their daughters to and the daughters immediately, which is what always happens in that situation, is like they just want the money. They don't want the check for the rest of for the next 20 years. They just want the money. And because they weren't there for the conversation to learn and hear out all the other reasons on why what they were wanting was impossible, essentially. And because they wanted, top dollar for the house that needed $150,000 worth of work. And and they just, and they should have sold it 2 years ago at the height of the market, but they waited.
And that they still wanted to get the same value, right, for the house.
Exactly. And and what I learned in that situation is like I should have done two things. One, I was still missing something. Like there was I would have brought maybe this guy has some other family members that could help him see the reality of it a little bit more. Maybe not. But I would ask if you haven't already. Because I should have brought those daughters in. I should have asked, what's your other family like, and what are they like? Do they have a connection to the house? They want any? Like, do they want it? Do you have any? So I would have asked that earlier, so that they would have been able to get involved sooner, and then that way they can help also, like. They can help make the seller realize, like and I think you said he had a son or something that was involved.
Had a son.
It's not always that they, sometimes they're just on their own, and maybe this guy comes around, maybe he doesn't. But I would definitely, I think the biggest thing that biggest mistake a lot of people make is they don't follow up when they get the no. Even when you think it's the final no, is not following up. So I would definitely follow up.
I did follow up for a little while. The auction was postponed, and then the next auction date passed. They literally ghosted me. Right? Is like I was like phone calls and like text messages, and suddenly I was getting no response. Right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, at that point, I said, do I really want to invest my time in something that is not paying any dividends, or do I want to focus my energies into something? And the minute that I changed my focus, that's when I started sending out contracts.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So I guess it just has to do with what you said before about like what do you want to build, right? So you want to build a business, right? I mean, maybe if you're for the one deal, it's amazing. Just follow that one, stay on that one only, and just until.
No, and I'm just for the record, I'm not saying fall into the ends of the earth kind of thing. Like I just when I say follow up, I mean just don't drop it and never look at it again.
Gotcha.
I mean like put it in your CRM, put it on a thing to follow up in a few months and give it a shot. Because until that thing is foreclosed or sold, it's still a lead.
Absolutely.
Even if or pass it to somebody else that you like working with and let them go after it for a little while, because sometimes you're too soon, even though you don't feel like it with this guy, because it was right at the end. But like sometimes, they need to hear it a couple times from different people and it's just the way it goes. Like sometimes we're way too early to the party. Like, we'll come in with that, they listed it for 200,000 and we come in and offer, 120 because that's ultimately what's going to sell for. Somebody else is going to play games with them and do all this BS. But at the end of the day, they're probably going to sell it for 120. They just don't know it yet. And I'm trying to tell them up front, like, and be honest, and sometimes people don't appreciate that. But the third or fourth guy to tell them that, is a different story. So it's, it's always, if you're not getting anywhere, pass it to somebody, tag team it, whatever. And
that's a good idea.
Maybe somebody has a different approach and they,
it's funny you say
and
that.
they throw you something when they get it. So is the ideal, is, the right way to go about that.
And I've done that actually. There was one deal in particular that she didn't like, I didn't get nowhere. Right. And then I passed it to some friend of mine. It's like, hey, she's ready to sell. I think this is going to be like the best way for her to go. It was a sub 2, right? But she was like very skeptical. Like she wasn't trusting like the whole, taking over the payments and that it's going to say on my name, the whole objection. No matter what I said, she was like, no. So this guy who is in the active military and military duty, he talks to her and she's convinced. She trusted him.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, great. It's yours, man. Go for it.
Well, hopefully he gave you something good for that, because that's a heck of a lead. And even if you don't have it like immediately locked up, you at least warm them up to the idea and, teed it up a little bit. And, you should definitely people do that, like, depending on what it was, depends on what you get. So, I think it's important to pay it forward. And even if you didn't write a contract or agree on any number ahead of time or whatever, like, I think it's always good to just be cool. Like, we just did a deal where we gave, all the person did was give us a list, and we gave that person $3,000 when we closed the deal. They didn't touch the deal in any way, but they got $3,000 because without that list, and without that lead on that list, we would have never called it.
You gotta be grateful too, right? And be reciprocal.
Exactly. So we only have a few more minutes, but I want to hear about the one you just got under contract. So try and give me the short version. And what'd you get?
Yeah. So that one in particular, it is a property. It's actually a house that needs. It's from liens, right?
Okay.
Has liens. It has some work that need to be done, some rehab. Of course, like the owner is like, it's already rent ready. There's already a renter there, classic, but it still needs some work, right? It is on market. It's in Ohio, by the way. So it's like virtually, virtual wholesaling, have the owner taking pictures and send it to me.
Yeah.
Right. On that one, the value of the house is $150K, right? I put it under contract. I got it on 50 cents on the dollar, right? Actually like 60 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
Right. And but again, there's already a renter there. It's pretty much about, and I don't know about the assignment fee and all that stuff. I'm not too sure at this point. But that one was through cold calling, right? I called a guy, and it was actually before coming here to one of the events that we had. That was the last phone call, right? I was like, this one, and then I'm gone. And then he happened to be a motivated seller, right?
He
was
like, one more dial.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Just go one more. And that's when I talked to the guy. He said, like, I've already talked to plenty. I think I'm going to, like, there's a guy that will send me a contract. And I said, okay, where do I need to be at? Right? And he said, initially, I will take no less than 120K, right? And then I said, well, 120K, yeah, that's how much the other guy's offering me, right?
Okay.
Keep in mind the house is worth 150K, like on market. That's what would show like the Zestimate and all that and the comps, right? So I see, 150 to 170 or whatever, right? And so I go look at the comps and I say, hey, well, amazing, right? I mean, if that guy is like, why haven't you taken that offer? Why are we talking then if you're not, because it sounds like that's a great deal.
It's a great question
right?
to ask. Yep.
And then he said, well, because I don't know, I'm not sure if he's going to he told me that he was going to send me the contract, but I haven't gotten it yet. Okay. And when was that? Well, a few days ago. Okay. All right. So, and do you think that maybe that's why, because I'm looking at the comps. I mean, did they take their time to because I'm on the phone with you and I'm talking to you, I'm running the comps and I'm telling you what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
There is one house here that's right. It's 150K, but it looks fancy, looks beautiful, gorgeous house, right? Is yours the same way? Oh yeah, it just needs a little bit of work. Okay, but is it like this one? Like, does it have like granite countertops that have like beautiful faucet, right? And the guy's like, well, no. Yeah, but that's not going to be like 20 grand of the price. And I said, no, that's right. That's not. But then they're also like they need some more work, right? And then I said, okay, so let's do this, right? You're saying that your house is worth 120K, right? I cannot see pictures, right? I'm just relying on what you're telling me. You're saying like I couldn't get the owner to say that, like to go any lower than 120K.
Yeah.
Right. And so he sends his pictures, and of course he just sends his pictures from certain areas where the house was like from afar, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I knew at that point, like the door was like from the garage or the shed was crooked, right? Then the house was cracked like on the walls. And then I saw like little things, right? And I asked him for more pictures. He didn't want to send me no pictures. But
Red
that
flag.
was enough.
Yeah.
That was enough for me to see, okay. So I was able to have the seller tell me more about, and this is what I did, right? I said, I already checked. If you don't want me to see the property, right, I'm going to have to go super low.
Yeah.
Because it's so risky, right? So I can perform, I can close because I have a buyer, and I did, right? I had a buyer I have a buyer for that property. A guy who said
Nice.
like, hey, you get something in Ohio, send it my way. I run it by him, and he said like, okay, I would buy it at this amount, right? And I said, well, I did. That's like too low, but let me see what I can do, right? Now I'll just do the best that I can. And so I called the guy again. That was the following day. I just followed up, and I told the guy that, after I looked at the pictures, looks like I will have to put at least 20 grand, right? And I said, that's 20 grand in repairs, but then also I need to make some money, right? And also the investor needs to make some money. And there are so many ways that we can do this, but he wanted money fast, right?
Yeah.
He needed that money for something else, right?
Okay.
He was an investor actually, and he wanted to put it towards another property. And so I said, okay, then if you want the money, if you want this, I told him 100 grand, right? I think this is what I can do, and this is the best that I can do, right?
Okay.
And he said, okay, absolutely, great, let's do it. And I said, okay, so we'll do that. But if there is anything else that needs to be done, I just wanted you to know that we'll do like we'll have to go back. No, if we're gonna do that, I'm not even going to get under contract. If you're not gonna, come to the, give me what
But it
we'll
sounds
already
like he's
agree
not
on.
being all that honest about what's what's really going on there. So
he wasn't. So and I want to close in 2 weeks, right? And I said, okay, sounds like, there has to be a give and take, right? So at the end of the day, what I ended up locking it up was at $78,000.
nice.
Right? So I brought it down. We went back and forth for a little while, right? Until I said, I think this is my best offer, right? If you want to take it, great. I can make this happen because I already have a person that told me, you want to close fast. This is what fast costs, right?
Yeah.
It's 80 grand, right? 78,000. And if you want convenience, if you want that, you can do this. And I'm here. And no matter, even if these buyers don't buy it, and if we get to the deadline, I will buy it, right? If it came to that, because I was honest, right? I was wholesaling and I get that a lot. I mean, people want to know, like, are you the buyer or are you a wholesaler? Especially if they're an investor, right? They want to know.
Yep.
And that's what happened, right? So I got the contract. Still today, I got more pictures because I asked them, like, send me more pictures, right, of the property, so I'll be able to market it. So I'm just building the package, and I'm still deciding if it's funny, and I might be able to tell you later on that, because the buyer, once I had it locked up, he said, like, oh, I'll have my funds tied up, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So I'll on to the next problem, right?
Yeah, that's solvable. But I mean, if the numbers work, it shouldn't be that. But where in
Cleveland,
Cleveland? Okay.
Ohio.
All right. Well, good job, man. That was, I mean, it sounds like you did, you said all the right things, you were honest. I think that you were really honest about it. You don't have to hide that you're wholesaling. I mean, sometimes, it depends, like if you had to pivot that way, or like it didn't start off that way and you're just trying to save the deal and close it to keep a seller happy, like, but for the most part, like if you're going to wholesale it, it's okay to tell people, like, if they just want their problem solved.
Absolutely.
I definitely don't like lead with it, but in your situation, you did, or you it was good that you were honest, because you used that to your advantage to really knock down that price. So it's worth 150 fixed up.
Fixed up. That's correct.
And then what do you think the rehab is going to be?
I'm thinking about, realistically is probably 35K. I think that's like going, and I'm very conservative with my numbers, because I was thinking, like, if I were to buy, because again, like, this is the way I'm thinking. If I end up, like, for whatever reason, I don't find a buyer, like, I'm gonna keep it, right?
Yeah.
And if it gets to the point, well, then it's on me, right? So I want to think, like, worst case scenario, I keep it, and if that is, like, how much would that cost me? And, like, super conservative numbers is 35K, right? Okay. It's pretty much drywall. It's not a lot. It's drywall, and then just the door, maybe replacing the door. Just a few things. Maybe it's going to be way less than that. But again, I just want to go. I know that Ohio is way cheaper, but I'm just using just California numbers just in case.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, you run conservative. If you're going to be doing the flip, and if you're going to be wholesaling and you want to be honest with you run conservative. So, if you already, sounds like you already have a buyer. If you don't, man, I know people in Ohio, not like, I don't have a buyer's list in Ohio, but I definitely have friends in Ohio that buy. So if it's truly like, those numbers and it works out, there's probably somebody there. But great job on following up and locking it up. That's pretty much how you do it. And
Thanks.
I think that's a pretty good place. We're going to have to end there because we're out of time, but great job, man. Great job.
Hey, thank you, man.
So, Alfonso, if people want to get a hold of you and like your story, like what they heard, want to do deals with you, maybe want to come work for you, how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Well, I have, of course, you can reach out to me, send me a direct email, right? Alfonso, my name, LFONSO, Alfonso at cashforhomesca.com. That would be my email. And on my Instagram, you can find me. I mean, I don't differentiate my personal. I feel like my professional and personal are all the same. They all just merge together. And it's Poncho Aramburo. P.O. just like the ponchos that you wear when it's raining. Aramburo, my last name, Aramburo. And that's where, and of course, like, I don't know, like my number, maybe if you guys want to, want to blow me off with 951-512-0141.
Right on, man. Well, it's been great having you on the show. My name's Rich Rice, your host. This has been the Fire Chat podcast here at the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. We do weekly events, networking, deal making, all kinds of stuff 3 times a week. And I invest all over Southern California, Inland Empire, a lot up in the mountains, Crestline, Lake Arrowhead. If you ever wanted to do a deal with me or you know anything up there, I'm not a hard guy to find. Just Google me, put me into Facebook, go to the club's website, iereic.org. Come check out all of our events, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.